2014 will go down as the warmest year around the globe in recorded history.
2015 was the hottest year since climate records began.
Your show this July was the single hottest month in recorded history.
Australia sweltered through its hottest spring on record.
Climate change is now affecting every country on every continent.
It's the rate that's of great concern.
And what do you put that rate down to?
Oh, it's human activity.
We have everything we need. Some still doubt that we have the will to act, but I say the will to act is itself a renewable resource.
You're joining us out in Box Hill in this lovely little warehouse in this industrial area, and this is the headquarters of Crema Joe. Crema Joe is I've heard it described as a social enterprise. You can correct me if that's wrong straight off the bat. It is a startup, and it's a hardware startup, to appeal to all the tech heads out there as well, to make it a bit more fancy. So, Kayla, Crema Joe is yours, and what's your relation to the company and official title?
So I'd say, co-founder. So my husband and I founded the business in 2014. 2014,
so we're going on half a decade.
Yep. Yeah, it's coming along. I guess time has flown. We did have our first child within, 2 years into the business. Actually, it would have been 1 year in. Time is flying. So it's all a bit of a blur, but so we've been around for a while now, and I think we're feeling like we've really solidified ourselves as one of the leaders in the sustainable capsule market. So
we're going to get into what the sustainable capsule market means and what the company does here, but on a kind of a lighthearted note, when Sean introduced me to you and told me about Crema Joe, I asked him in return, I said, Sean, how do you describe this business, Crema Joe, from your understanding of it in one sentence? And he sent me back this poetry of Crema Joe is a pragmatic cog in the wheel of revolution toward a circular economy. Now, does that sound remotely like the company?
It sounds like you should send me that, and I'm going to use that on our website. I guess we're really trying to make that impact and help consumers to really rethink their consumption when it comes to capsule coffee.
Yeah, so let's dive into that. So we haven't actually said the word coffee until now, but if you're from Melbourne, you know what crema is. If you're not from Melbourne, like me, you might not have ever heard the word before. So Crema Joe is a coffee company at heart?
Yeah, I suppose so. My husband's Italian. Coffee runs in his veins. For him, coffee was part of growing up, going to Nana's house, putting the mocha pot on. So we actually use a mocha pot at home. So stovetop, Bialetti, definitely runs in his veins. So we are coffee addicted, that's for sure. As I may have mentioned, we've got a toddler, so we drink a lot of it, and we're really lucky to be working with coffee. Thank goodness.
So do you have a problem of of drinking your own, like drinking the supply, like being this close to the source?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, we drink a lot. Yeah, we definitely drink too much. It's free flowing here, and there's a lot of product testing that needs to be done. So always sampling, always trying our new machines. There's always a reason to drink more coffee. But we did recently launch decaf, so at the moment I'm working on switching out that last coffee of the day for a decaf.
You're down to one caffeinated coffee of the day?
No.
No.
I'm down.
The last coffee in the day is to be decaf. Gotcha.
I'm probably down to 3 or 4 caffeinated coffees a day. And
as someone from Seattle, I respect it. That's a
great.
Very solid tally. You're the coffee expert. I'm a failed Seattleite because I drink coffee, but I'll drink instant without batting an eyelid. Coffee's coffee. Coffee is caffeine to me. Can you think of any other big coffee cities that are sort of known for that reputation outside of Seattle and Melbourne? Probably, the whole country of Italy.
Well, yeah, Italy, Melbourne, you hear that term, coffee capital, all the time. Actually, a lot of people would usually expect that I would be fussy with my coffee, but I have been known to drink instant in times of desperation.
I can totally edit that out if you regret saying it.
Well, look, I had a newborn and a new business, so yeah, desperate times, desperate measures.
You got through, which is good. And there may have been instant involved in a couple of instances.
We'll just keep that between us and
You, me, and whoever else is listening.
Yeah.
That's fine. All good.
And your entire audience.
Well, speaking of you and me being here, we're not alone in the room. And just to quickly describe this lovely place we're in, as we walked in, you said, "Yeah, welcome to our humble warehouse." Very honestly, this is the nicest warehouse space. It's a combination office, headquarters, and yes, I think the wall over here, this far wall, just covered in racking and the beautiful packaging of your products. I think if it's not already, I didn't see the image on your website, but I think that kind of is the store, and just click on the thing you want. That is such a nice presentation, even in your warehouse. But we're not alone, you, me, and the rack of products. We've got a couple new members of Climactic here kind of tagging along. We got Chrissy and Nicole, and they're waiting in the wings to take over my interview spot, and I can't wait for that to happen. That's going to be great. And we are here with one of your employees.
Yes, so
your team.
Yep.
Sorry.
My crew, my ladies, my mamas. This is Belinda. So Belinda runs our wholesale department, and Belinda's been with us for probably nearly a year.
I think.
Yeah, Belinda is part of the furniture now. I don't know what I'd do without her.
On me.
When as we walked up, we did see into the windows, and you were sitting, next to each other at this long desk. So I can attribute that. Yeah, Kayla was not sitting on Belinda at the time we were here.
Save that for later in the week.
So if I could just quote something here that I found really interesting from the Crema Joe website, kind of why you exist as a company. You've laid it out really beautifully here, why you exist. And I'd love to maybe get into the story of how it happened and how you found this clarity of purpose. But it just summed up so beautifully that there's this problem, and the problem is that it's estimated that more than 6 million coffee capsules are used across Australia each day, which is truly staggering. Those machines have been very popular, and you just think that's one capsule for every 6 Australians, or actually less than that, for every 5, every 4 and a bit Australians. And the majority of those capsules are ending up in landfill. The ethically minded team behind Crema Joe were eager to find an alternative so that we could continue enjoying our daily cuppa without the guilt. Wanting to spread the word and help others reduce the environmental impact of their coffee pod machines, Crema Joe was launched, a coffee-centric online store with a conscience. So that's a great purpose for a company, and I'm just curious how you came across that purpose in particular. Why coffee and why coffee capsules?
Yes, I guess we drink a lot of coffee, so it's definitely a thing. So we admittedly had our own coffee capsule machine. So we'd been doing a little research just as that information sort of started to come out about the waste around coffee capsule machines, and we realized that, oh, wait a minute, this is convenient but not ideal. So we were looking into alternatives for ourselves and found that there wasn't really a lot of great options at the time. There are biodegradable options around. What we learnt was a lot of those capsules aren't actually backyard compostable. So what people don't know, for a lot of these brands, is that these capsules need to go to specific facilities to break down properly. So that's when we looked into reusable and thought this is kind of ideal. Rather than throwing our coffee pod machine in the bin, let's look at a reusable option, and it really just took off from there.
That makes complete sense. I'm wondering what the light bulb moment, though, was for you of wanting to change how things were currently happening in your house, of buying the coffee capsules, using them, obviously kind of being happy enough with the coffee, definitely liking the convenience. Why was that mounting sort of background issue of landfill volumes? What kind of woke you up to that?
I guess just seeing how quickly the stacks of coffee capsules really added up. When you do the calculations and look at, okay, if I have 2 coffees a day, that's a lot of capsules in 1 year. It really adds up quite quickly. I guess it was just looking at that sheer volume of capsules. And at the time we were expecting our child, and it was having conversations about the future and starting to think about, wow, that's actually really important that we leave this world in a good state for the future generations. So, I think parenthood really kicked it off as well.
So interesting timing to decide to turn this, a concern. But then, rather than do the pretty wasteful thing of throwing away the machine, which people have done, thinking they're doing the right thing, but not thinking it through, looking at the embodied energy in that machine. But instead of sort of making just a personal change, you decided to try to kind of scratch your own itch, do something more sustainable, and have it be available to others as well? What got you in mind to do it as a business?
I think both my husband and I have always been quite business minded, and starting a family as well. It felt like good timing to start something of our own. And
you were already going to be halfway to a family business.
Exactly. And so my background is actually advertising. It's a very different industry, and it's nice to be doing something now that's really contributing to such a positive difference and a positive impact. It feels a little bit like the polar opposite of what I was doing before. It feels good to have an impact on a wider scale.
Was there an element of that kind of, it's a familiar saying to a lot of the people listening, it's come up in previous interviews as well, the corporate refugee kind of mentality of working at a previous kind of business as usual job where you might be happy with the people, you might be happy with the job you're doing, you might be happy with what you get paid, but you're not happy with the overall kind of context and outcome of the job you're doing, the industry it's in, the overall societal impact. Was there kind of an element of like, I kind of want to go away from this?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the advertising industry it's not a very family-friendly place to work, and I guess there's a lot of stress and pressure working in that industry. What you're doing is treated like it's so crucial, like these deadlines and stress, and really, what is the outcome? You're not saving lives. You're selling essentially. So there's sort of not a lot of meaning behind, what you're doing. In
an industry without a lot of real stakes, there isn't lives on the line. There is a lot of that imposed structure and unfriendliness to the flexibility you need as a new mother and, with a new family. Looking back on it, now the company's been going for 5 years, is there kind of like a bit of a sigh of relief of like, oh man, I'm glad I'm not still in that industry, or mixed bag?
It's very mixed feelings. It's funny. I think back now and think, I'm going to, originally I was like, I'll start up this thing and it'll be great and we're going to make a difference and it's going to be so flexible and amazing. And it's just totally all encompassing. There have been some very tough days, very tough weeks. There's sort of never a moment to spare. Whenever I have a spare second, I'm like, okay, how many emails can I cram into this moment? And it's been tough, yeah. Like work-life balance has been really tough. But I guess for me, if I occasionally just need to step back and look at what we're doing, look at the changes that we're helping to make, look at the impact on a wider scale, and it's hard, but it's totally worth it.
Very good. Well, I'll circle back and touch on this again later as we talk a bit more about the business side, but I'll just say quickly that, I was, my father was self-employed, and that example that you said of that work ethic meant a lot to me then, kind of subconsciously and explicitly now, looking at how I'm going to, set a precedent for my, children who don't exist yet, but yeah, my cat, that's a good example. So you just you quickly touch on that, and thank you for being sort of candid about that as well, because I know that Crema Joe's had a bit of publicity. You could easily be seen from the outside as just, oh, look at this mom who has it all. She's got this sustainable business, and it's this great, it's doing this great thing, and it's such a great slick look to it because you have skills in advertising, but actually opening up about the fact that it has been hard. And it's not an easy road to travel. Yeah, totally. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah, no worries.
So of course, Kayla, you it's been 5 years. You've built up something substantial, but you haven't had to do it all alone, which has been great. And we've got Belinda here from your team who runs the wholesale side, and I get to put my business degree hat back on here. So I really appreciate this chance to talk about a business rather than just a grassroots group or an environmental group, and not just that, but to bring in that business element again. So how has the company kind of developed, and when did you join, and what was that? Was that at kind of a critical juncture in the business?
So I joined about a year ago, and I was only their second employee. So I think they ran it for about 3 years, just Piers and Kayla. And then they hired a friend of theirs called Erin, she's now left to have a baby. She just had a baby a couple of weeks ago.
There's something in the water around here, Belinda. Watch out. I'm drinking the tea.
I won't be having any more. I have enough. I've seen the business grow quite rapidly since I joined last year. I started off just a few hours a week, and now I'm part-time, so 3 days a week here. And the business is definitely moving along at a rapid rate, which is it's really good. It's healthy for business too, and a lot of it's down to the vision that Kayla and Piers have. Kayla is really the one who manages the most of the business. Piers works outside of the business as well. It's wonderful having a girl boss. She's an amazing manager boss lady to have, and she runs a great team. She runs a tight ship, but it's really good. This year we've employed 2 more team members, one of them to replace our lovely Erin, who left to have a baby, but we've also got another team member who's just joined. And so it's an all-girl team, pretty much, and it's lovely, you know. We come to work, we've got kids or on their way to, and there's a certain level of understanding of what it's like to be a parent and work, because that's not an easy gig either.
And there's sadly plenty of offices without that understanding and the empathy, as you said.
Definitely.
That don't understand what that
and
takes.
that's something else that Kayla has really wanted to provide, a space where mums returning to work after having their children have got a flexible work arrangement, which is safe and healthy, and it's really important. You know, she understands, oh, my kid just fell over coming out the door, I'll be half an hour late, you know, or whatever happens.
As kids are known to do.
Yeah,
so that wasn't just me.
No.
There's other special kids out there.
No, there are special ones, yes.
We're all special.
Oh, there's been a brown incident. And it wasn't coffee.
Wasn't coffee, no.
Or chocolate.
Yeah, or chocolate. Yeah. So there's definitely that level of understanding. We don't need to feel as stressed out. You know, my kids go to school, so I've got to leave at a certain time to be able to pick them up, and it's just a really healthy environment, and I think they've done a great job with that. And the other thing that I guess is really apparent working here is that aspect of the social enterprise, what the company vision is and what they're trying to achieve. Obviously, they want a healthy, successful business, but at the same time, not just cashing in on that greenwashing or that you know, green credentials sort of thing that is out there, is about educating the public, I guess, in a little way, of that there are options. You know, you can still choose something that might be a convenient situation, but then you choose a more environmentally friendly option with your coffee capsules. And then also the aspect of they strive to be as zero waste or as low waste as we can. There's some things we can't avoid, but there's, we recycle, we accept recycled packaging, and we ask people to donate stuff like the packaging peanuts. And yesterday, someone on my local secondhand page said that they had got, a whole lot of boxes and other bits and pieces. So I went around to their house and picked them all up. And so we're trying to sort of create this circular economy, of packaging materials.
And of course, these are all things that you need to use in the course of doing mail outs of customer orders. You're finding ways to kind of fit that into your packing schedule. And because that's kind of done in-house here, you've got that flexibility. You don't have to tell your supplier, look, I want you to do this better. I don't care how you do it, or I'm going to be unreasonable about it, because you have to do these kind of odd hours, kind of like flexible, kind of, someone's got something for me, I've got to go pick it up now because they don't have space to store it at their house, and either go pick it up this afternoon or it's going out with the bins tomorrow. Exactly. So it's the kind of thing you can do in-house. Since you joined Belinda, you said there's been quite a bit of growth in the business. Does it kind of feel like there's a bit of a friction between the growth you're seeing in the company and also that flexibility and the conscious, compassionate nature of the small team being able to, because it's sort of a lot of the sustainability things we do are running counter to the systems at place in society. So we've got this natural tension, unfortunately, between doing the right thing and doing the easy thing.
I would say that in general, the answer is no, that the growth has been managed very well. I guess probably the biggest thing is a stretch on the business's resources more than anything. So that's probably where the friction point is. Mm-hmm. It doesn't play out within the team. We all do some hours from home as well, which is really good.
That's important because if there's no incentive other than just feeling good, I mean, like, you could just be having a bad day and you work at a sustainable company and you're a sustainably minded person. And if you're not willing to go to that effort all the time, or if you're not, if there's no incentive, unfortunately, like, there'll be times where you're just not able to do it. And those little actions can really start to snowball. Like, that person then who's been picking up all this reusable stuff might get burned by you not being able to pick it up. They're not going to do it again. They're going to tell their friends not to. The word of mouth, especially in a business like this, must be really important, and that social capital that you're building up over the last 5 years. Yeah,
definitely. Kayla's recently launched a recycling scheme in a way, and sort of made it a bit more public that this is what we do with, we use recycled packaging for your products. When it's sent, the actual product itself is in a nice little neat packet, which we're always working on to make more sustainable and less waste. But the courier bags and the boxes, the postage elements and the packing elements is what we get people to donate.
It's good. It's really, really good. And with the refining the packaging design over time, we're lucky enough to have two university students here, postgrad students in the room with us. And I'm kind of curious if that's the kind of thing that, like any enterprising industrial design, packaging sort of minded students, like the power of sort of new ideas to come and look at something with a fresh pair of eyes. Like, it can seem very opaque and difficult to get to speak to some of the larger businesses out there, and kind of it can seem very closed off. If some industrious student who's listening to this wants to be like, I might have some ideas about how to make packaging more, reduce the amount you're using and make it easier to recycle, they should get in touch potentially.
Yeah. We're up for anything, really. And you're right. It's good to get those, someone externally to look over things at times. There's things that we might have been doing for a long time and we've sort of gotten a bit complacent with it. So it can't hurt to have someone say, I've noticed you're doing this. You could switch it up for this, and then, reduce your waste by that much more, or whatever it is.
Absolutely. Yeah. Where did the social enterprise aspect enter into the business? Was it there from the start, or did that enter later on?
Yeah, I guess they went hand in hand. I mean, we'd always talked about starting up our own thing and having our own thing that was meant to be very flexible when we had a family. But
the dream versus reality there, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's really great that we've been able to do something in that vein that's also doing social good at the same time. So yeah, we've been really, really lucky, I think, to get into this space.
If I can butt in here, what I can see, it's actually something that's at the backbone of everything that they've done with setting up this business. And
which, again, fresh eyes, you can set it up and not really realize it. Yeah, it looks like that.
That's
the outside.
Right. But I think it's something that's really important to them. So for them, they've wanted to set up a solid and genuine business that's not something that's just tapping into capitalism and especially taking on such a, for want of a better word, like consumeristic product, the disposable coffee pods industry. They wanted to be, I guess, in a way, anti that single use, and put something back into the planet and create that a bit of a circular thing. And I see that it's very important to them to know that they're doing good as well as creating a healthy business.
Mm-hmm. Much better said. Thank you.
Fresh pair of eyes.
Yeah, great. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah. Great. Well,
that's why I hired him.
Yeah. Earning every dollar today. This is great.
Verbal copy editor.
That's right. Speechwriter.
She finishes my sentences.
So with me as your sort of humble interviewer today, and especially the show that this is going on to, Climactic, is very much about these very interesting, exciting, worrying times we live in, kind of right on the cusp of climate change really starting to pinch, and us sort of feeling those effects of the world as we've changed it. A lot of people kind of, when they're addressing climate change, are starting to think about it. They're wanting to start doing something about it. They get up to the point of waste, and they kind of start to focus there. And there's a lot of really, really smart, really engaged, really nice people I know who have done this. And I totally understand why. I'm probably, because I, grew up thinking about sci-fi and the future so much, I'm kind of like, waste, yeah, it's a problem, but I worry a lot more about catastrophic crop failures and all the dark stuff. But I can see why waste is so interesting, because it's tangible. You can look at it in your own home. You think 2 capsules a day going in the bin times 365 days a year. It's obviously a problem, and you can actually get your hands around it and start doing something. But I'm just curious, why did you, Kayla, get so interested on waste reduction especially?
We just saw a gap in the market. I mean, it's such a simple thing for households to switch to a reusable capsule, and there just wasn't anything available. So it felt like a really simple, it felt like something that we could start that could make some potentially big changes in regards to capsule waste. But yeah, I'm definitely there with you. I mean, I get a little bit stressed thinking about what the future holds. My dad's actually a marine biologist, so we've sort of grown up talking a lot about conservation and that sort of thing. I sort of stopped myself thinking about it too much, because it does, it is kind of, stressful and can be a bit depressing. But this is something that we are able to do. So this is a change that we can help people make.
Luckily, I can sort of direct people sort of who want to engage on the marine science and conservation and plastic pollution angle. I can direct them back to episodes with Haiti Taylor, founder of Tongaroa Blue, and Dr. Jen Lavers, a seabird researcher doing work out on the Marshall Islands and out middle, these specks of rock in the Pacific Islands where they're finding, plastic in birds out there, of course, because plastic's everywhere. But it's good to be able to stick with, the tangibles of what we can do in our homes, in our kitchens. And I'm interested there in kind of getting into a bit of the details of what has been hard about the business, because it's good to appreciate how difficult the thing you've chosen to do actually is, which from the outside you might not think about. The biggest problem, right, and in this whole thing is just that it's the amount of capsule machines and the amount of capsules out there. Because, I imagine you must have this product matrix of just hundreds of sizes and...
Yeah, it's getting there. It's getting there. We started with what was most popular. We started with the most popular coffee machines. We came on board at a time where I guess these machines were really popular, and felt like nearly every second person had one. They're kind of fun, kind of a novelty, and obviously very convenient.
George Clooney's a spokesperson. I mean, how can you not love it?
I know. So everyone's mum, auntie, they went there. And
Gay best friend in my case. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. And I can see why. He's charming. Our first product was an espresso compatible capsule, and from there we branched out and had a couple of different lines, both still targeted at Nespresso, which is still the most popular machine.
I think one of the biggest challenges with the business and with customers switching to reusables is that they have come from an uber convenient product that is so easy to use. All they need to do is pick up the pod, put it in the machine, press the button, and they've got a coffee, which essentially is as easy as coffee is to make anyway. But they've gotten used to a certain system, and the system with using reusables is slightly more involved. So you do need to take that little bit extra time. It's not much time, but for people then to get their head around it, that seems to be a bit of a friction point for a lot of customers. We try to guide customers to which product that may suit them the best, and also to inform them it may not be as easy as your super convenience, but you're now making a choice towards sustainability rather than convenience.
There's so many directions to go with that, and I could talk to you about sort of how to take customers through that journey and why in some ways it's a lot better to get them to start using the super convenient thing that's a little bit better for sustainability, because even a little bit better matters a lot in aggregate, matters a lot even in one kitchen over the course of a year. There's also the interesting aspect of your products that ideally once the customer has bought your products once they've got a set of capsules they can keep reusing, they should, in theory, kind of be done as a customer. This is not like you sell them a printer and then you're going to be selling them ink forever. This is a lot more you're selling them some quality flatware or your, iron skillet that's going to be passed down for generations. There is a whole conversation we could have about churn and getting new customers all the time. And I'd love to do all that, but I think if our listeners on Climactic kind of take to the idea of talking to businesses about tangibly, how do we not just say business should be greener? How do we make business work in a greener way, which brings in all those elements? One thing I'd love to know is, you started the business as a startup with this kind of triple bottom line thinking, kind of from the start, with it being a social enterprise. How hard was that?
I've always lived quite minimally, so it's quite natural for me to think that way, and to think about I guess from the bottom up, like, how can we be doing things better? Like, how, whatever we're doing, I want to make sure it's the right thing to do moving forward. So for most of the things we've done, we've sort of just gotten off on the ground floor and just started that way. My husband tends to be the one who wants to spend money on the big ideas and things, but I prefer to take it pretty slow, make sure it's working. I'm all about the details. So we started with a single line of products. The first thing we did was develop more sustainable packaging for them. A local printer who's a green printer, so it's all the FSC certified stock, vegetable-based ink. So yeah, I guess it's just natural for me to look at all those aspects with pretty fine detail. That can slow other processes down, and that, can be tough on the business, but it's just so important. I think talking about or selling a sustainable product isn't enough. If the business selling a sustainable product is not truly sustainable, then what's the point? Since the war on waste really kicked things off, and this whole, I guess you could call it a sustainability trend, which is, again, not a bad thing. Since this sort of sustainability trend has come about, we're seeing a lot of businesses or business-minded people sort of jumping on and, as you said, capitalizing on this thing. And we're seeing a lot of products coming in from overseas marketplaces, trying to educate consumers on looking into the origins of the product they're buying, the business behind the product they're buying. Does that business care about supply chain? Sustainable design is important. How are the workers producing that product treated? Are they paid well? How much plastic is involved in importing that product? It's just so important for us, from start to finish, that we maintain this ethos. And I guess we would hope that other sustainable businesses would be doing that, but we always like to remind consumers that it's important to look at that as well when buying a product that's meant to be helping you reduce your everyday waste.
So I feel kind of silly getting up to this point without actually asking the question. Are you involved, or are you commissioning, or you're not manufacturing products yourselves? Are you importing?
For most of our products, we're the Australian distributor. And then for some of our products, we've worked with a manufacturer to help develop them. Like our SealPod, for example, we just worked with the manufacturer to develop the Aldi Cafe version, and it's SealPod that we get the packaging printed locally as well. And then we're currently working on a couple of new products that we will be manufacturing in Australia.
That's really exciting.
Yes. Well, it's a bit under wraps.
Logistically a nightmare, I'm sure.
Well, yes and no. Yes and no. It's really exciting. But I'll have to send you some details.
Yeah, no, don't tell me anything.
I feel like everyone's going to be very excited about it. I'm really looking forward to announcing it.
Okay, now we have to do a follow-up episode, when that's announced, and we can talk about that, because domestic Australian manufacturing is going to be very exciting.
Well, yeah. I'm bursting at the seams to tell you about it.
Yeah, I get the sense already. That was more than you were meant to tell me. Through this chat, I've kind of realized that the road you've taken has been hard in a lot of ways. It's been a tough 5 years. You haven't had a lot of time away from the business. It's your home and work life have been smushed together, like you said. But the lessons you are teaching your child will have full integrity and value, and they'll stand up to the test of time when they do reach their teenage years and they start thinking, like, is what mom said and what mom did the same? And it'll be a lot more in your case than sadly in a lot of others.
Yeah, thank you.
Luckily we've got some interviewers in the Climactic Collective who are parents. I'm definitely like just remembering stuff from my childhood, but I'll have to have you back on to talk sort of nuts and bolts of business. Maybe get you and your husband, your partner on to talk about sort of the how to run a business like this and how all that works, and
Sure.
maybe on the parenting side as well. But it's been so great to get to talk to you, Kayla.
Yeah,
Thanks
you
so much for your
too.
time.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
And Belinda, you've been fantastic as well.
Thanks for having me as well, Mark.
And thank you for having like a full house kind of, there's 5 of us in the room in your warehouse, and it's been absolutely lovely. And thanks again. Thank you for joining us. You've been listening to Climactic, the flagship podcast of the Climactic Collective, a podcast network dedicated to lifting the voices of the climate community. You can find out more about the people behind Climactic and all the shows we produce at climactic.fm. We are a social enterprise podcast network, and we greatly appreciate your support. You can find a link to our Pozible where you can support us directly in the show notes of this episode or from our website. Thank you for listening, and from the whole Climactic Collective, keep up the great work and take care of each other in these climactic times.
The Climactic Collective.